I'm just going to talk about the Breaking Bad Fly episode for 15 minutes. Broke Bad Epilogue. It's all contaminated. Like we've already established, the 10th episode of the 3rd season, Fly, is one of the greatest, narratives, cinema, visual, cellular narratives. And again, you need to kind of understand not just the previous episodes of Breaking Bad, but even revisiting the episodes after seeing, the fracturing of their relationship of Jesse and Walt afterward. But Fly is special. It is, And again, Rian Johnson as a director chose some very interesting stylistic choices, but some of the more powerful moments are just these still, very long takes of what amounts to just a series of monologues. So, Flies follows an episode, funnily, titled Kafkaesque. So beforehand, Kafkaesque, the whole point is, alright, well, Walter and Jesse, they're back together, finally. After all the back and forth, the, shenanigans of the 3rd season. Hank's in the hospital, so he's not on the trail anymore, and, they think they're in good with Gus, and, Gail's been sidelined, and things are running smoothly, But again, it's bureaucracy, it's banal. These two men initially got into the game, they had their own narratives. But it was, again, Rip Van Winkle, the Western. Again, it's the Western. They wanted to escape into the wilderness and be free. Because, again, the main villain of Breaking Bad is capitalism. But there they are, literally punching in the clock. And envision in your mind's eye the way the super lab is set up. Even like the entrance, there's those deep dark blues, and it lifts up, and then there's this hellish red. This hellish red light, and then they go down to that red door. Fucking the gates of hell descending like Orpheus, into those depths. And then there's the red grates. And just again, you think of all the images of the blood, but that point it's just sterile, And they don't feel it, they're losing it. So Jesse starts to pilfer. There's a pilfer some on the side because he thinks, hey, me and fucking Rosencrantz and Guildenstern, Combo and Skinny Pete, we can keep the myth going. We can do what we used to do, Again, that's where he starts to really go astray. But he doesn't really, he's just getting his feet wet. But Walter undergoes something very interesting when Skylar in Kafkaesque outplays him in the game of chess, and then makes it so he has to pay for Hank's bills, and then creates a lie that's truth. Again, it's truth. It's very true. But she creates that lie about Walter gambling and outplays him. And he's not impressed. Again, because Skylar's the real hero of the narrative. And she's like, I learned from the best. That's when she finally really takes her own. So Walt realizes that both in his home life and both in, his work life, he's not in control. He's not Heisenberg. He's just Mr. White again, working under somebody else, fulfilling their dream. Still doing great, having everything he could need. Money was never the point, though, So that's why it's called Kafkaesque. So, Kafkaesque, about waking up feeling like an insect, then segs into more or less a one take, pretty much. Like I said before, it's a bottle episode. But this minimalistic Beckett play. Better than Waiting for Godot. Better than Endgame. More or less, just two men. You see maybe a couple of the other workers in the very beginning, but it's just Walter and Jesse. This is brilliant. And the first half is slapstick. Again, it's vaudeville. It's just them fucking goofing off, being silly, because Jesse doesn't understand. Keep in mind the costumes that they wear in this episode. Those are very important. It's very important. What is Jesse wearing? Remember what Jesse used to like to wear? And he stopped wearing it. Remember that green? It was a green camo military jacket. I recognize it because I used to have one just like it. That was the one I was underneath the banana suit that I used to have. It's real. It's a real deal. It's a nice coat. Unique. Bear in mind Jesse wears that. In the episode, where these, again, similar to 4 Days Out, these two men bare their souls to one another. Remember what Walt's wearing at the end? Remember when he comes back? Remember what he's wearing? That jacket. That jacket. It's all over now, baby blue. The vagabond who's rapping at your door is standing in the clothes that you once wore. And it's like, the show doesn't really ever explain any of this, and you're not supposed to think that Walter knows what he's doing. But remember how he leaves that watch behind. Remember that watch, the watch that Jesse gave him. So like, whether he knows it or not, subconsciously, Walter loves Jesse. Like, and it's not homoerotic, but that's what really Breaking Bad is, the story of the love between Walter and Jesse, the love that is at its purest in this episode, Fly. Again, it's like about the Lord of the Flies, ultimately. It's about the fucking devil. That's what the fly is. It's the fucking devil in Walt's consciousness, Why do you think he talks about the lullaby? There's a program about elephants. It's just the elephant in the room, Fly is a grand metaphor, if you will, buzzing around. But as the show progresses, keep in mind Jesse's wearing that thing. It segs from being slapstick. So keep in mind, first it's just Walt by himself. It's just Walt by himself fucking flopping around. It's funny as fucking shit. Bryan Cranston again, national treasure. Like his howl comes out for a little bit. Jesse's taking the gas, But still, bear in mind, at this point, like, these two men they're on great terms. One could argue the best terms they're ever going to be in. The only thing they have to worry about is their own existential crises. That's why you start to see the massive wounds Jesse had from his beatdown from Hank are starting to kind of fully heal. And even the way he acknowledges Jane, it's like, okay, he's doing good. He's being straight. He's being sober. And then it's a weird inverse where, and that story he says about his aunt is just beautiful. It's just, and it's him, again, reaching out, that agape, that kindness, because he thinks that Walter just has, like, the brain cancer is spreading, and that's why he doesn't get that cry for help. Trust me, I know. Father, son, I know. That's why this episode spoke to me, and that's, again, it's not about me. Objectively, it's the best episode ever made of any television show. But, yeah, I think it's that thing, and it's funny, but then it's, again, Walt's like, yeah, no, I know what you're trying to say. It's not that. But what that means is like, let's keep going. Let's keep this chat going. So whereas Jesse needed to get sober to have his moment of clarity, Walt, who we've just established, except for the tequila and over, and when he kind of slipped he drinks wine a few times. But again, sober person with a junkie mindset of denial, but sober. But no, remember Jesse's who's just trying to knock him out, because like fucking Walt's in full fucking Ahab. Again, it's funny. It's an inversion of the mythos. The whale is big and gigantic and a leviathan, but his little green light is this tiny little fucking fly. The fly in the ointment, you know what I mean? That gadfly that always circles around the shit and the decay of society. This is a good show. I don't know if I've mentioned this, but Breaking Bad's a really good show. But ultimately the fly's a metaphor, fossilized, like Tuco's teeth. So, Jesse puts the drugs in Walt's fucking drink. I think it's like the coffee machine that fucking Gale had too, so there's all sorts of cool meta text. And then you start to see, and again, I don't consider this heroic, but this is the most human you see Walter White, and this is just, and again, for a show that really, had good dialogue, but it was very visual. But this episode, when Walter in this liminal state, oh my god, talks about that perfect moment, like he's there just reflecting, and he knows where he's at, and he knows where he's going, and he wishes he could just have been died, and the subtext is, Jesse, I'm sorry about Jane. That's why he brings up, the chaos, and he brings up and he says, oh, I met Jane's dad, and remember when he brings that up even? Like, they light up, you remember that? It's beautiful. Like, it's this beautiful moment between these two where they talk, and the words that aren't said. Never give up on family. That's the thing. That's what the whole show is about. Like, even when you want to, trust me, you never give up on family. If, and family isn't necessarily always blood. It's that mirror image, as warped as it might be. That's what Fly is really about. And then, like, when he says that, and then he breaks down, that's when Jesse falls in love with him really as a father and as a brother, and then he realizes, hey, I have to be my brother's keeper right now. And remember how Jesse, again, in Peekaboo, didn't want to kill that bug. He didn't want to kill that bug. Jesse didn't want to kill anybody. That's why he was always so broke and damaged by the whole thing. And again, plausible deniability, the nature of drug addiction and the meth, even if the kids weren't getting killed and all this absurd boom cowboy shit. These people are selling meth. People die. People do meth and they kill people. People do meth and they put their babies in the microwave. Like, and then their shit was spreading across the world, Before that moment, stuck in that little vacuum, that was a side. And they just had themselves there. So what does Jesse do? But he climbs this ladder with Walt symbolically holding it. Again, holding it weakly, but enough that if he wasn't doing that, it would fall. That's how precarious it is. Jesse's on top and they're having that moment. And Walt's just this close to being like, I could have saved Jane, and I didn't if I knew what it would do to you, my son. But I was there, and that's why Phoenix is such a powerful moment when that's his first granite state. His face, that's like another one of the greatest scenes ever fucking filmed. It just fucking shot of his dude's face. It's almost like he's sucking the tears back up. But now he finally gets a chance to release it and fly. He's like, I'm sorry about Jane. And Jesse's just so cool about it. And he's like, hey, it's bound to happen. Just two junkies, Oh, but I miss her. Oh, God, I do. That's why he keeps the cigarettes. That's why in the next episode, and if anything, it triggers him to regress. Abby Cutie is the next episode, which is like to Georgia O'Keeffe, where her spot is in the repetition, and then that's why they just flashback with Jane and him with Andrea, and that's what resets the cycle and puts him into killing Gail. But that was a moment where they could have just, and they couldn't have, really, they couldn't have walked away from it. They would, trust me, once you're in the game, you're in the game. So they knew that, again, it's very Beckett. The Fly is very Beckett. But that's why it's so beautiful. And then the fly's there, and the fly falls. It's fucking fake as shit. But what does Jesse do? Same reason why later he kills Gale, but this one is a little more noble. He breaks his pacifism, and he swats that fly. But what does Walter say before that? It's all contaminated. It's the human condition. Born contaminated. You were born broke bad. That's again a tongue-in-cheek irony of the show. Breaking Bad. As if it's something you're heading toward. No. You're always falling. Up. Toward that thermodynamic arc. Breaking Bad's a real fucking good show, I'll tell you what. And Fly really is that little fucking everything. It's a masterpiece. You could watch it without any of the other episodes. I mean, you need to, you should. But just watching it and what it says, how it speaks, it's a masterclass. But then that sad turn, when Jesse is like, fuck you, it's like, Walt tries to reach out, and the window rolls up and he goes off. And then what does Walt see above him in that fire, that little circle, little thing that circles that always, Ouroboros mandala, that plate that broke. Crazy 8 tried to stab him with. And the fly's there, of course, because it's in here, trapped in the ember of his mind. The Lord of the Flies, the Lord of the Lies. That's what it's about. Really. Addiction, anything, Trump, everything. The lie. The light from the dark, And the truth isn't always nice. The truth isn't always. Truth is bleak. A world that is bleak, as decayed as Albuquerque. But you don't take a wrong turn to get where you are at Bugs Bunny. You take that right turn. And you break a little bit of good.